am Dracula.
It's really good to see you. I don't know what happened to the driver and my luggage, and, well, and with all this, I thought I was in the wrong place. I bid you welcome.
And I bid you welcome. Thanks for tuning in, guys, to my annual 31 Days of Monsters. This year, we're going to do it a little bit differently. We're streaming it. And we're starting off with Universal's 1931 classic Dracula, directed by Todd Browning. So grab your cup of coffee, open your peepers, and let's just dig into it. Dracula is an interesting film. Oh, hello. Pumpkin is here. She's a monster fan, too. Hello, girl. Hello. Yes. Because it's the first. So it's the first of the sound era, of the talking era. And it suffers from that a little bit. It's a little stagey, but it's got incredible, excuse me, incredible atmosphere, especially in the first and last half of the film. When we get to the middle half of it, it becomes a bit of a stage play. And I think that makes sense in some ways because it's really not based on Bram Stoker's book, but rather on, what's his name? Hamilton Dean. Hamilton Dean's play. So it does have a little theatrical aspect to it. But the one thing you can't deny in this film is the power of Bela Lugosi. He owns this movie. You can't take your eyes off the man whenever he's on screen, and I think that's very true for him in just about everything he's ever done. He's done some really bad movies, but he's always really good in every one of them. And if you need any support of that statement, I should say, they did a Spanish language version of this back in the 1930s. They didn't have the dubbing technology that they did, so the studios used to film Spanish language versions of the movies because that was a good market for them. So when Todd Browning filmed this during the day, at night a Spanish crew would come in using the same script and the same sets and film, but different actors, Spanish actors, and film a Spanish version of Dracula. If you've ever seen it, it's far superior to the Todd Browning one in the way that it's shot. It's more atmospheric. It's sexier. You know, the women wear sexier clothes, probably because they were less provincial than 1930s America. But it also, the camera moves more. But the problem with it, watching that is yeah, it's shot better and it looks cooler, but it doesn't have Bela Lugosi. It suffers. Carlos Villarreal is who plays Dracula, is fine, but he doesn't have that magnetism. And the same could be said for the actor that plays Renfield. I mean, Dwight Fry and Bela Lugosi are what make this movie and why we're talking about it, 80 years later. So a lot of people also think that the Bela Lugosi, played Dracula a million times. Well, he played him on stage a lot, but he only played Dracula in 2 films. This, the original Dracula, and 1948's Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Well, those are the only times he played Dracula on screen in a movie. And a lot of people don't realize that. Got some people checking in. Let me just say hello to everybody here. Let's see, we got Statistical Zero, hello. Pop Culture Avenger, hello. Dennis Shoemate, hey Florida boy, how are you? Cisco Wizco, excellent. Brian Blevins, hey man, it's good to see you. Pumpkin, Pop Culture Adventure says hello to you. She's chewing one of her toys down there. Oh, Statistical Zero, here, we got a question. Lugosi learned his line phonetically. That isn't true. that's a myth. He spoke English as good as he ever did, which was okay when he made that film, but that's been disproven. Otis Rose, good morning. So it's good to see everybody. I'm glad everybody's up getting their coffee and enjoying the day. These little morning episodes of the 31 Days of Monster are going to go different time lengths, 10 minutes, maybe half an hour, something like that. I don't know. It all depends on the amount of interaction and the amount of information there is to talk about the monster or the movie that I've chosen for that day. We'll just dive some more into. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, I talked about the atmosphere in Dracula. Let me just switch over here to. Look at that mug. Look at the intensity in those eyes. Bela Lugosi is so good, so underrated, and so underused in films. I would really have loved to see him do more comedy. Here's a great matte painting from the opening, one of the opening scenes in Dracula when the coach is being driven by Dracula up to the castle. That's really creepy looking. That's a great looking matte painting. The sets on this film are outstanding as well. They're voluminous. They're giant. The stairs, especially in the scene at the end where Renfield meets his maker at the hands of Dracula. There's a really long staircase, which is really cool looking. But the thing about these Universal films and these sets are they're just so atmospheric. Dracula's brides. They were a bit underused in this movie, but they were still very creepy. One of the things that always bothered me when I watched Dracula as a kid is that there's no blood. I mean, he's a vampire. He's sucking blood, and there's no blood, and he's got no fangs. You never see his fangs. Isn't that weird? I mean, you had to wait till well, certainly Christopher Lee, had it in the Hammer films in the 50s. But I can't remember if they ever showed when other people played Dracula. Lon Chaney Jr. played him in Son of Dracula, and then of course John Carradine in the some of the Raleigh films, House of Dracula, House of Frankenstein. But I don't ever remember seeing his fangs in any of those either. So maybe they never actually showed them until the Christopher Lee one. Here's a shot side by side with Bela and Carlos Villarreal, who played the Spanish language version of Dracula. He looks a little bit more, demented, like some kind of nut you'd see out in the street, whereas Lugosi looks creepy. He looks like he's got some bad intentions. Carlos looks like, he's about to sing karaoke here. And he's not too sure if he should do it. Let's see who else checked in here. Yeah. Hyper Kaiju says Lugosi looks calculating. I think that's a good assessment. The Hays Act came in, I believe it was 1935. And by that time, the British Film Board had banned horror movies, which is what stopped Universal from making them around 1935, and they started them up again in 1939, just before our entry into World War II in 1941. Carlos looks like Peter Townsend. Maybe we should get him to do one of those things with the guitars. Scott Clark says Nosferatu always creeped me out, but not Dracula so much. Dracula's more about the suspense. Yeah, Nosferatu as a silent film. For people that don't know, Nosferatu pretty much was Dracula. They based it on it, and they didn't get the permission. And Bram Stoker's wife sued the German company that made it and won, and they were ordered to destroy all prints of that film because it was because of copyright infringement. But thankfully, some of those things survived. Some of those prints survived, and they've been able to digitally remaster and convert it back into a Blu-ray. Because Nosferatu is probably one of the greatest versions of Dracula there is. Max Schreck's makeup and look. He looks cadaverous. He looks scary and creepy. He looks like he's no sparkly vampire, that's for sure. He's as Bram Stoker had described, an undead creature. Who just reeks of horror and menace. But when they got the sound version, was just it was what it was. It may have scared people in 1931. It certainly wouldn't scare anybody now. But it's still a great movie to watch, just for the atmosphere and for Bela Lugosi, that's for sure. Hey Marcus, good to see you here, bud. Black and white just makes it even scarier. I don't think it would be as creepy in color. Speaking of black and white, can't wait for the Chenoo. Thank you. A little plug there for my my monster comic, The Chenoo, which is on Indiegogo, which I will put the link to in the. I'll put a link to it in the comment section. So if any of you want to check it out, I would. There we go. I hope you will. And thanks for the plug, Marcus. It's much better when you guys make it. It doesn't look as bad. Oh, let's see who else is. I'm back. I did that last night too. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm hitting something on one of this wireless mouse with my finger. I think I'm swiping it, and it's knocking me out of the broadcast. So sorry about that. This is only my second one. I did the introduction last night, and yeah, self kick. You're right. I should kick myself in the ass for not learning how to do this better. But hey, it's a process, right? We're all learning. But and it's early. You got to give me that, right? Monster Fan says, "Hail the chat, hail Mr. Nolan, hail Lugosi." Yeah, Lugosi was the king. Well, Karloff might have been the king, but we'll get to him too later on. Bale played another vampire in Mark of the Vampire, which he did for MGM, which was a remake of Todd Browning's London After Midnight. London After Midnight is a lost film. It starred Lon Chaney Sr. But the problem with that, and with the remake, is that it wasn't really a vampire. It's got all kinds of plot holes, and I would love to have seen the original with Chaney Sr. I'm hoping that maybe someday it will resurface. Let's see, George Trevellos. Dracula is actually my least favorite Universal monster movie franchise. I can see that. It's not nearly as good. It's much more inconsistent. Because you've got 3 different guys playing Dracula with various levels of skill and writing, and the character. They don't really exploit the character power and menace as well as when Hammer Films finally got to it, and Christopher Lee played him, because that was just amazing when Christopher Lee played Dracula. It was real scary. So let's see here. Carlos looks like Andy Kaufman. Let's do this. Here, where's my... Okay, now I can't unsee that. He does look like Andy Kaufman. Thanks, Carlos. I mean, thanks, James. Monster fan. Return of the Vampire. He plays Armand Tesla with a werewolf assistant. I really like this movie. Yeah, that one's pretty cool. That one's sort of a little lower budget. Was that MGM? No, Columbia. It was a Columbia movie, so they weren't big on budgets. But yeah, that one's a cool one too. It's what I should have said was that Lugosi played a vampire a bunch of times in films, but he only played the Dracula in the two. William Russell says, angry artist in the house. I'm not sure if that means him or me. Because I'm not angry. I'm happy. I'm tired, but I'm happy. Because I've got my coffee. It settles me down. One of the creepiest of the Universal franchises is The Mummy. You have the first one with Boris Karloff, which is basically the same plot as Dracula with a lot of the same actors. But it has an opening that is just amazing. When the mummy comes to life, and then after they shut down production on horror films, Universal re-kicked them, as I said, in 1939, and in 1940 they made The Mummy's Hand, and The Mummy's Hand was like it was like Indiana Jones meets The Mummy. They added this element of action adventure to that horror film, which is why it's one of my all-time favorites. You had Tom Tyler playing the Mummy, Dick Foran, two-fisted singing cowboy actor, playing the main lead in that. And in fact, that was one of the sort of the presentation of that film is what inspired my Joe Frankenstein series, to have high adventure mixed with horror. Because as I said last night, I really like kind of cross-genre things. I like mixing genres, horror and comedy, and horror and action and adventure. So hey, Dave. David Barnes checking in. Good to see you. And William Russell clarified it means him. So I'm sorry you're angry. Christopher Lee did lead an amazing life. There was a story Peter Jackson told when he was playing Saruman in Lord of the Rings, and he was supposed to get stabbed, and he wanted him to fall forward or fall backwards. I forget what it was, and Christopher Lee says, no, when a body is stabbed like that, he falls this way. And he said, Peter Jackson asked him how he knew that. And he said, he knows. He did a lot of crazy stuff during the war. So Christopher Lee was a badass. Sean Walker says the 1931 Dracula is almost a silent movie in many respects. It relies a great deal on the music and how the actors move about much more than actual dialogue. Well, there was no music. The only music in Dracula is the opera scenes. Eventually, they added a really horrible soundtrack to it, which makes it unwatchable. But yeah, there was no music. It is very much like a silent film. Oh, Rick Brown poking the bear here. What did you think of the recent iteration of Dracula put out by the BBC on Netflix? It was horrible. It was absolute trash. The first episode of that was actually intriguing, and then it just took a straight nosedive. And then I forget which episode it was. The end of episode 2 or the end of episode 3. It just completely went off the rails and jumped the shark. It's like they just completely ran out of ideas, and they just said, well, let's throw this in, you know. Yeah, I do not recommend it. Jaime Diaz. He heard Christopher Lee was in the British Special Forces. Yeah, he was OSS, or I forget which group he was in, but yeah, I think you're right. Let's see if there's any other questions here that we can answer before we get on with the day. Oh, Statistical Zero, Joe Francis, I'm on Sunshine State, Chinu. I'm glad Compass Comics is around. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. This is a lot of fun doing this and connecting with the fans and backers of my projects and stuff like that. I've been doing the 31 Days of Monsters now for this is my 8th year doing it. I would just originally just post pictures on Facebook, and then just write a little bit about it, and then that was it. But in today's technology and day and age, I felt like this was a great step to take it a little further. What I'm hoping for is that the gremlins at Facebook won't slap me down. Like last night, I did an introduction to the series, and I found out that some Facebook group locked my video from being rewatched because it said that I had some video in there that wasn't mine or copyrighted and stuff like that. But it was just something I pulled up off of YouTube. So if it's on YouTube, it seems like it's fair use. And plus, I was using it under a fair use doctrine because I was using it to critique and to educate. So I filed a complaint against it, and then they reinstated it while they look at it. So we'll see what happens now that I've played a little bit of clip of Dracula here and see what goes on. If that continues to happen, then what I'm going to ask everybody to do on Facebook is, and I would prefer you do this anyway, is go to YouTube and subscribe to my page there, because then you won't run into any problem. And it helps me out. The more subscribers I have on YouTube, I need 1,000 before I can even monetize anything, So I'm hoping, to get more and more people moved over to YouTube anyway. And then you can watch it uninterrupted, as it were, from the Facebook algorithm police. Sam Malazzo just showed up. Just got in here, but I'll catch up soon on YouTube. Excellent. Welcome, Sam. Welcome. Will Avid, I've never heard your voice before. This is weird, LOL. Well, what's weirder is being me. Please hit like to chat and help the channel. Yes, please do that. And subscribe. Then that way you'll know when stuff is getting posted. Okay. Well, how much time have we been on here so far? As I said, I am learning. Trying to figure out where everything is. Good morning, Shane Aaron. Good morning, everybody. Now, tomorrow's movie is going to be a lot of fun. I've chosen one of my childhood favorites. It's called It, the Terror from Beyond Space. It's a sort of a low-budget 1958, 59. I got to check my homework on that before I go on tomorrow. But if you've ever seen Alien, this is the movie that inspired Alien. And there's a lot to talk about in this film. There's a lot of really fun and crazy stuff in that movie. So you're going to want to see talk about, or tune in for that one tomorrow. That's for sure. Ha ha ha! Kenneth Barone, go Bills, buddy. Love what you do. This is fantastic. Excellent. Yeah, go Bills. If you're not a Bills fan, that's okay. But we're on the move. My gatekeeper. About 25 minutes so far. Thank you, sir. Well, don't worry about it, Dr. Mask. This will be up. You can catch it later, either on Facebook or on YouTube. All right, Will, excellent. Thanks for subbing on YouTube. That's awesome. Hi, Ray. Glad you checked in. And yes, I am still alive. Such as I am. Oh, thank you, Martin. I like your profile pic. She's awesome. Love your work. Awesome. Great art and great heart. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. Now, here's something we may have to investigate. Get more pumpkin videos. She's a very good dog. She is a cutie. Well, gang, I think that's going to wrap up today's show. I think it was really great that everybody showed up this early in the morning before you start your work. And I hope you'll tune in tomorrow for It, the Terror from Beyond Space. I'm going to try and get these out at 8 o'clock in the morning every day for the next 31 days. Do my homework at night, and then we'll broadcast together again. So get that coffee pot going, and we shall see you tomorrow. Thanks again, and happy Halloween. See ya.